Frolo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frolo app is the one for you. The Frolo app has two modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. All users on Frolo are verified, putting our user safety first always. The Frolo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you're looking for. To download Frolo, search for Frolo, Frolo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frolo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon. Hi there, and welcome to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Zoe Desmond, single parent and founder of Frolo, the Single Parent Community app. Frolo is all about empowering the single parent experience through friendship, community, and support. And this podcast brings you conversations with other single parents about their experiences and the challenges and rewards that go hand in hand with raising a child by yourself. There are so many different aspects to single parenting, and I think it's about time we put a more positive spin on the term single parent, because one thing is for sure, single parents are truly incredible. I hope you enjoy this episode of Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. Our sponsor today is Edie, where kids can have fun learning maths. If you have a child aged 9 to 14 who could do with a confidence boost when it comes to maths, or who wants to challenge themselves or has a hard time getting motivated, then Edie is just what you need. For just £7.99 a month, less than a Netflix subscription, Edie gives your child unlimited, on-demand lessons tailored to their individual needs. It's just like having a personal tutor, but with a lot more flexibility and for a fraction of the price. Lessons are fun and engaging and adapt to your child as they go. 98% of children say they feel more confident with maths after just one lesson with Edie. So sign up now at eedi.com and help you and your child feel good about learning maths. Hi, and welcome to the Frolo podcast. In this episode, I am talking to single mom and serial businesswoman and entrepreneur Fleur Emery. Fleur, lovely to have you, and congratulations on your new podcast, which is released today.
That's a bit meta, isn't it? Talking about a podcast within a podcast. But yeah, we're excited because it's out today.
Yeah, very excited to listen to it. You've just played me the intro, so I won't reveal what it is, but it's not what you'd expect.
No, it's a lot of laughing. It's kind of like listening in at the door of the fifth form common room. There's a lot of puerile humour mixed in with serious business chat.
Lovely. So can you give us the overview of what the podcast is and who it's for?
Yeah, so the podcast is part of output, if you like, from Real Work. And Real Work is an online co-working space for women that I set up in the pandemic, really. So it's an online platform where women who are looking to work and earn on their own terms can come together and get the support and education they need. It's like a community, if you like, an online membership. And we produce loads of different stuff so that even if you don't want to join, you can still benefit and be part of the movement, if you like. So we have a new YouTube channel. We've got masses of people on Instagram who get involved. And the podcast is part of that kind of brand build out. And it's like Real Work is not an overly serious place, but it's action orientated. It's women who are finding ways to work around family commitments, around the pandemic, around shielding, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also a laugh. Like it's a we have a lot of fun. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll get a flavour of that. I mean, the episode 2 is we have a guest called Mercy Shabemba, who's a member of Real Work, and she's a 22-year-old HIV activist and youth HIV advocate. So she has an incredibly serious job, and the reason she has that job comes out of a really interesting, convoluted family story. And within the course of the podcast, she reveals some really personal and moving testimony and talks about this real sort of hero's journey on how she goes from being a schoolgirl in Cardiff to opening the World HIV Conference.
Wow.
And yeah, and then, but we managed to just titter through the second half. We just find things to joke about within that. I don't know how. It shouldn't work, but it seems to.
Well, I'm so excited. That will be this evening's listening. I'm looking forward to it. And congratulations with everything you've achieved with Real Work. It just seems to have gone from absolute strength to strength, from what I can tell. Amazing thing to have launched in the pandemic, and actually probably no better time for women in business to have this type of online co-working support. So yeah, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool and really, really timely. So what kind of people would be involved in co-work, and how would it benefit somebody? So if somebody's setting up their own business, solo entrepreneur, and, you know, is thinking about maybe getting involved, what would they get out of it, and how does it work?
Well, first of all, you know, the praise at the top of that, you know, when you said congratulations, thank you, first of all, you know, I'll take it where you find it, but with a caveat that it's certainly become a team effort. When I launched Real Work, it was unplanned, and it was with a question, really. And I just went on Instagram and I said, lots of us can't meet. We can't get the support around our businesses that we need. How about we do it online? I'm starting a membership. Let's work it out as we go along and collaborate. Here's the button, press to join. And just masses of people did.
Amazing.
So it was kind of an overnight success. And then we worked back from there. Everyone said yes. And we kind of worked back from there and just spent all the money that came through the door on building a team to support the community, and just kept looking back into the community and saying, what do you need? Does this work? Does that work? What's better? Should we do that? Should we do this? And sort of creating a culture around the members. And it's worked beautifully. As you can hear, I love it. It's not my first time at the rodeo. I should also say that it didn't come out of thin air. It is working beautifully, but you know, this is my fourth startup, really. You know, for 15 years, I've been starting big businesses, and I've had some success. You know, I've had some products in Waitrose and on aeroplanes, and, you know, I've been written up in the FT, and, you know, I've had these great, exciting moments. But I haven't had a sort of a classic exit. I haven't had, you know, some of the financial markers of success, and I've dropped the ball a few times. So it's been up and down. And so getting a ride like this at this stage of my career feels pretty great, I have to say. Also that lovely thing has happened that I've kind of created the product that I needed for myself, because it's not a coaching program. It's not that I'm teaching everyone things. You know, I share my experience and I pass on information and stuff that I know, but it's a democracy and everyone learns from each other, and I learn just as much as everyone else, but I'm just in there kind of leading from the front. And the question you asked about who's in Real Work, that's one of the most mysterious things about it. It's a truly diverse community. You know, our youngest member is 20, our oldest member is 70, there's 85 of us. We're in different countries, we're different nationalities, all kinds of people. Some people have product business, some women have services businesses, some women have 3 kids and come in earning 600 quid a month and they need to get that to £2,000 a month quickly. Some people are scaling a business, you know, a product business, and are doing a second round of investment, or it's their second business and they made money on the first one. And again, if I'd have sort of planned it out, if I'd written a business plan, Oh no, say that you'd planned it out and you brought the business plan to me, I'd have said, oh, I'm not sure that's going to work, Zoe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to work. And if you just said, do you want to invest 50 grand in the setup costs? I said, I don't think I do. I think I'm going to pass on that, Zoe. I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
But I think I would have passed. But actually, we didn't overthink it. We just started. We definitely took the throw spaghetti at the wall approach.
Yeah.
And the spaghetti stuck.
That's great. So, I love it, but it's clear. It's been very obvious that your community that you've been building, and which started out kind of on Instagram, and it's similar to how Frolo kind of started. You know, that Instagram sort of community. That's where it started, and then it helps you shape what the business is because your community are kind of guiding you. But it's you are so on it. Like I always say this to you, I'm like, it never ceases to amaze me how just on it you are. You seem so structured. It's like clockwork. Your email comes in at a certain time, your post goes out at a certain time, but you're really at the same time. It seems that you are taking an organic approach in letting the community feed in what they want. You seem to keep asking questions about what they want.
I'll give you a brilliant podcast segue.
Yeah.
What you've basically described is my approach to business, but also my approach to parenting. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And when you say, you're nailing it, I am extremely efficient, and I also have a lot of energy. I'm very positive and confident. But that comes from 15 years of kind of making mistakes. And I don't actually work harder than other people. I actually only work. Let's talk parenting. I work school hours, and in the pandemic, less. So I pick up at 3:30. And stop working.
Okay, Fleur, I literally need you to be my life and business coach then, because
So I tell you, the problem is though, it's that all that I can say. I mean, I can teach you it in 5 minutes, and the answer is pay attention and get the data. So, and it just takes time. I don't think that I think sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly. I don't think that you just learn overnight. But my point is, I think that, so when I started Grasshopper Porridge, my first business 15 years ago, I would work when I had no kids. I was in a flat in London with a low rent. I had no responsibilities. I worked all the time I was awake. Yeah. And I didn't mind. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I thrived on it. It was fascinating. I'd, found my niche in life, but I just took the long route around absolutely everything. And if I went back in time now and ran that business, I could run it just so much more easily and efficiently, and I'd probably make a fortune.
Okay.
But because I was in learning mode, it just takes as long as, and you just notice things. Yeah. Like learning to rest, I rest in the afternoon, learning how to eat, how to exercise. And we all have a different combination of that. We all have a different, exactly like parenting. Some things work for us. Some people need more routine. Some people need less routine. Some people like to be spontaneous. Some people are freaked out by spontaneity. So, and our kids are different. We're different. Where we live is different. And it's just, I think what I'm saying is it's about curiosity, and opening our mind to different possibilities. So not shutting down options in our mind, and trying things out. When I was in my 20s, I worked as a nanny on and off. That was kind of my go-to job in the holidays and stuff. And it's funny looking back because I was really like Mary Poppins routine, almost had a whistle, line up, face wash, blue socks this side, yellow socks that side, it was like an army camp. And very successfully, I used to organize whole households, in Pimlico and Putney like that, very successfully. And then I assumed that I'd be that kind of parent. And I'm literally the opposite. Literally, I'm like attachment parenting. My baby still sleeps in my bed. I never bought a cot. I never pureed anything. I never, we just absolute proper attachment parenting, loosey-goosey. There's literally no rules. There literally is no rules.
It's funny how we don't turn into the parents we always imagined ourselves to be.
I thought I'd be like taking my child to the theatre, taking them to other people's houses late at night for dinner parties. We go to bed at 7:00. I listen to the Archers and I'm in bed at night.
Yeah, I imagined myself to be this real earth kind of mama, just chilled, kind of, would never sort of lose my temper. I don't know what I was thinking was so naive of me. It's not the reality at all.
But we have to work those things out for ourselves, don't we? And it's the same in how we work, is how we parent. We just think, is this efficient? So, for example, I constantly curate and ask myself questions about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, both in my work and in my parenting.
Yeah.
So, for example, stuff, because I'm on my own and I don't have a co-parent, if we get given like toys or buy toys or acquire toys and things, then I have to look after them, like clean them, curate them, find a place for them. And that creates more work for me.
Yeah.
So I have a limit on how many toys we have in the house, and it's a 1 in, 1 out system. So if you have one in, you have to give one away.
That's cool.
And, because it's just a system.
Yeah.
And having systems like that about how much clothes we have a drawer of clothes each, and one rail between us. And once it's full, again, 1 in, 1 out. I've calculated how many clothes I think we need and what is reasonable.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I'm not prepared to take care of any more of her clothes than that.
Yeah.
Because there's no bandwidth. There's no room at the inn.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So I continually tweak and apply those structures. And it's not all just to do with like how many things can I like wash and clean. It's to do with like what value things bring. Mm. So for example, I'm very sensitive to my environment. So I don't like to have the telly on. I like to have very quiet music on. I don't like plastic. I don't like the look of it. So it's just not an option to have. If I have loads of plastic toys and stuff in the house, it's going to make me, I don't like it. It makes me feel negative. So those things are contained. The plastic is like in one box that belongs to her, and so she can have it in that space. And so then if she loses her little plastic toys, it's in her trays. She has these kind of vintage metal factory trays, and they're in the trays. Like, where's my stuff? It's in the trays. If it's plastic, it goes back in the trays. You can't leave plastic around my home because I need to live here and work here, and it will do my head in. I'm not prepared to do that. I'm willing not to throw it away if we can keep it in that tray. So it's like those kind of it sounds like, listen, obviously to other parents, you have different ways. Everyone's parenting, of course, sounds insane when you actually scrutinize it. But what I'm talking about is creating systems that are right for me, right for my kid, and mean that I'm free to work on my terms, earn on my terms. And the result is that I'm a really relaxed, happy parent. And
Amazing.
we don't really row very much. So it's like, and I think the point, which is actually really current in the news at the moment, especially with regards to women's history, is that by having the audacity to speak up and say, I don't like plastic in my house, I'm not going to have it. I do not like toys that are electronic and make a noise. I'm not going to have them in my house. And the audacity of doing that, which will make people think, what, that's so mean, what a bitch, whatever. The audacity of that is because I know that if I put my own needs to have a calm environment first, I can work better, live better, parent better. And the result is that I don't shout at my kid.
Exactly. Well, your kid has all of the benefit of all of those things. But going back to your work hacks, can you please share some with me? How do you manage to put everything into school hours?
Yeah, I can pass on a few tips. So first of all, I have a structure within that day. So I have availability. If you say, can I have a meeting with you? I need an hour. You can have 9:30, 11, 12:30 or 2. There's 4 slots in my day for 1 hour, and they have a half an hour slot in between to have a wee and have a cracker.
Yeah.
And I have an electronic booking system which you can book up, and there's a note on it saying, thank you so much for doing me the courtesy of using this system. I know it makes it look like I'm the president of the United States, but I'm a solo parent and it helps me, thanks.
What is it? What's the system?
I use Acuity Scheduling, but there's also one called Calendly, which is very popular. And by doing that, you book in with me, so we don't have to exchange loads of emails. And then if you want to change the appointment, you can do it your end, and it just changes in my calendar. So that reduces 10 or 15 emails. It's also programmed to max out after 2 meetings a day, because that's how many I know that I can really give you my full attention for and not get. So you can program it. So that takes care of my diary entries. I recently bought an e-bike, a cargo bike, which my kid can travel on the back of until she's too big that she doesn't want to. Like, you can put an adult on the back of them. It's called a Turn GSD. They're incredible. And so now we have a 3-mile journey to school and back. And it means that we're almost car free. So when I take her to school in the morning, we cycle 3 miles to school along the seafront. So we see the horizon, we get fresh air. We don't row. She arrives at the school aerated and happy.
Nice.
I end up arriving at my desk at 8:45, having cycled 6 miles and seen the horizon and spoken to God or whatever I do on the way. And so that starts me off. That's my baseline, that I've done a bit of exercise and had a bit of fresh air.
Yeah.
And then the same at the end of the day. I get the fresh air on the way to pick her up. And so when I pick her up, I'm pleased to see her. Also, the other thing is going to bed really early. So using Calendly is really super. And that's not actually the only piece of tech I'd use. I'm 47, but I'm quite tech friendly. I'm quite nimble there's lots of apps that I use that make my working life more efficient.
Tell me.
Like zero online banking. So that, I just can sit and with my thumb flick across all the bank transactions to check that what I'm paying on things and to check it's all right. I expected that money in, it hasn't come in, and invoicing through Xero. Also, my accountant can use it so that I can just flick all the stuff off to them. And that reduces probably 4 hours a month in bookkeeping by just using Xero with my accountant. The Slack channel that we operate real work out of, I have a team channel in that, so that all the people I work with are communicating on Slack in a group chat instead of multiple emails going back and forwards. So that really helps. And I would just say curiosity and noticing. I have no problem in giving myself. I've completely got over that kind of female thing of like not letting myself rest. I drove myself bananas in my 20s, like with addiction and eating disorders, and I did a lot of work to recover from that. And so nowadays I take that stuff seriously. And if I'm at a time in my monthly cycle and I just can't concentrate and want to sleep in the afternoon, I completely do that and guilt-free, and I just move work back and I delegate.
I love that. This is so helpful. This is really helpful from a personal perspective.
Starting to sound a bit like Gwyneth Paltrow, though.
No, I love it. But it would be really good to go back in time, because obviously you've mentioned living in London and living a different type of life. And
I've lived all the lives.
Yeah, really. I know, I love how kind of honest and candid you are about it all. And it seems like you have been on a journey which you're happy to share, but I think it's really helpful to share and to kind of show how you've gotten to where you are in your life now, and how, that challenging times in life can really build on to something really positive. So going back, because you've clearly had different chapters of your life that have kind of led to where you are today, and just thinking about your time in living in London, and you've mentioned that you've struggled with addiction and eating disorders as well, and now thinking to where you are today, cycling to school with your daughter, no plastic in your house, running your own business, and very, very aware of your space and how different things make you feel in your environment. So it would be really great to get a sense of going back a bit further on your journey to understand how everything led to now.
I think what you're talking about is change, and lots of people go through their lives and they sort of make small changes. I've made really big changes, and in a way, the habit of doing that came about because I had to change. Because, you know, in my early 20s, I lived in London. I came to university in London. It was the early 90s, and so there was a clubbing scene which was amazing, and party drugs was normal, and I absolutely loved it and went hell for leather. That sort of collided with a bit of imposter syndrome, inferiority complex, probably some latent compulsive behaviors, and it just, you know, I just went off the rails and had a miserable half a dozen years, and got to the point where my mental health was so poor, age 27, that it was kind of live or die sort of situation, and really wholeheartedly embraced living and getting better, and became very teachable. You know, we were talking before about willingness to sort of entertain other perspectives and ways of doing things. I when I ran my own life my own way, I made a real mess of it. So at that point, I was very teachable. I was able to say, look, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
And what point did that, was that an epiphany, or was that just a rock bottom?
Yeah, so they call, in sort of recovery world, people, the shorthand is to call it a rock bottom. And that was definitely my experience. And it's sort of like a feeling of spiritual bankruptcy is another way of describing it. When it's hard. It's a long time ago now. I'm 20 years clean and sober.
That's amazing.
So it's a long time. But there's a few things that I can sort of see in my mind, versions of me or situations that I was in then, that I can sort of look back on. And you know, and I think any person who's suffered with depression would have a touch point to sort of identify with the type of area you can get into. But just feeling that you definitely don't want to be alive. You just, there's nothing in it for you, which is funny. If you see me now, you know me well. You know, I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a very positive person. That's my natural disposition. And that's in a way why it was so confusing to find myself. I just lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I just look in the mirror and think, how many more times do I have to clean my teeth before I can be allowed to die?
I can't, and just because I've only really known you for the last kind of couple of years, and I just
you can't imagine it.
I can't imagine that version of you, because it does feel so different to how you are.
I'm cheerful.
Yeah, you are. You're a force. What would you say were the key things that helped you in that time?
So for me, my story was that I went into the 12-step program in Narcotics Anonymous. And from the moment I walked into my first meeting that someone who knew me took me to, I didn't ever have a drink or drug again from that day, 20 years ago.
Wow. From what I understand from people I know who have gone through it, is that unusual?
I do know other people. I've got a WhatsApp group of women that I knew in early recovery, and there's 6 of us. And that was 4 of us had that experience. Wow. And all of us are friends since the beginning. And we've got about 120 years sobriety between us and about 7 kids.
That's really cool.
But I would say to listeners, if you're sort of thinking, maybe it's very tempting when you get help from the 12-step program. It's tempting to sort of say, it's so magic. And it was for me. It worked for me. But, I don't hold opinions on what other people should do and what's right for them and who's an addict and who isn't. One of the things that recovery gives me is a deep understanding that I can only control myself and my own choices, and whether you're an alcoholic or not is none of my business. You know, what you do is none of my concern. I don't want to try and control you and encourage you to go and make you do. I just need to keep my own house in order. And I know that for me, you know, a program of complete abstinence was necessary. So if you want to tell me your cousin's husband, you know, used to be a heroin addict, but now he drinks wine on Sundays, great, good for him. If he can smoke weed, fine, absolutely. I have no opinion on sort of preaching or telling anyone. I can just say that I didn't want to live. I did a fairly decent job of checking out. And when I cleaned up completely in AA and got a spiritual perspective on my life, I have very much wanted to be alive ever since.
Wow, that's incredible.
Do you know what's funny though is I think it's actually it's an everyday miracle. It's like it was a miracle for me, and it's sweet that you think it's incredible because you care about me, you're my friend. But it has happened, stuff like that happens all the time. That's just the human condition, going through shit like that all the time. And people will be listening and saying, you know, you have people who have, you know, in postnatal depression that they, you know, for 8 years they feel like that toothbrush girl, you know, and they still manage to parent their kids and they come out the other side. I think that in modern life, what I'm describing is almost normal. Actually.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it's just the fact that you can really land firmly on the other side of that, to know that is possible, I think is really reassuring.
That's something that's something that I do broadcast. And that's the reason that I talk so openly about this, is to say that recovery is possible. Because when I was suffering, I believed that I was different and that I was, you know, bad, and that I would never be able to get better. I believed that the inner world that I was experiencing at that time, that was so negative and toxic in my mind and my feelings, I thought that was my personality. Yeah. I didn't understand that I now, my thoughts and feelings are the equal and opposite to what they were then. You know, I put my head on my pillow at the end of the day, and you know, my feet are touching my daughter's feet, and I just think I have everything that I want right here. Aww. And I'm just not worried. I don't have things I'm particularly worried about. You know, I'm happy to be there. I don't long to be somewhere else. I just feel at peace in myself. And I'd never thought that was possible.
Yeah, and that really, really comes through with you. I feel like you are one of the most straight-talking, authentic people I know, which is incredible. I love that about you. I think it's, you know, I think it's a testament to how at peace with yourself you are.
It took a while, but it, you know, I got there in the end.
Yeah, it's great. And going on to your lovely daughter, how old is Gia now?
She's 5.5.
5.5. And so what was happening in your life?
The interesting part of my parenting story was that I had her when I was 42, and I had come to believe that I wouldn't be a parent. And I know a lot of your Frolo community who listen to that, and, you know, to listen to this. And, you know, I've met some of them and chatted to some of them. And what's unites me with some of them who I've spoken to is this idea that I wanted to be a mum, always expected to be a mum, and then that didn't happen in any of the ways that I thought it would happen. And I'd never been pregnant, and I had tried. And then when I was younger, and then I hadn't been in a serious relationship. So I was single at 42, and then out of a sort of a friendship came Julia as a sort of a surprise, really. And it happened very quickly. And I was living in Soho, earning money, spending money, because I thought, you know what, there's no tomorrow. My a really close friend of mine, my sort of gay best friend, had taken his own life. And I was really suffering with that. I was really grief stricken. And that's why I was sort of living like there was no tomorrow. And suddenly there was a tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here she came along. And when I got pregnant, I remember there was this lovely, in Berwick Street, there was this lovely pharmacy, which, you know, like most of this area doesn't hardly exist anymore 5 years later. And there was a woman this Japanese woman who worked in the pharmacy, and I went and said, can I have a pregnancy test, please? Yes. Took it home, then came back and said, can I have a pregnancy test, please? Yeah, here. Took it home, then went back. So, can I have a pregnancy test, please? And she looked at me and she said, why, what? And I just stared at her, and I had a Louis Vuitton Speedy with me, an antique one. I opened it, and there was like 6 pregnancy tests in it. And she looked in my face, looked in the bag, picked one up, looked at it, and she just looked at me and she goes, you're going to have a baby. And I just stared at her and just started crying.
Wow.
She started crying. She just put her arms around me. It was like a goal in injury time. It was just so, I kind of had just given up hope quite a while ago, and I'd done my grieving. And it's funny now when I meet women who are in that situation of like letting go of their hopes of achieving a pregnancy or having a full-term baby, and they talk about what they're going through. I feel like saying, I'm you. And it's like, I'm not anymore.
Yeah. And
I was that person at the dinner party. I was the childless woman at the dinner party. And I'd come to accept that role. And I just thought, oh, well, maybe I'll be the governor of the local school, or maybe I'll have dogs, or I'm not sure. And then I just literally got the last ticket in the tombola had my name on it.
that is amazing. And I do see it, women kind of around me who are, you know, at that kind of stage of life. And
because unless you prioritize it early on, you know, you have to get it done. That's what I kind of say. And I didn't realize that. I didn't get that memo. And I just kind of thought it was going to happen like the movies. Yeah. And I didn't give it enough attention. And I was quite perfectionist about the whole thing. But I got away with it and then absolutely loved it. So liquidized my entire life, just sold all my furniture, moved out of the flat, moved back to the seaside where I come from, and got a little 2 up, 2 down, and just chucked everything over the side and changed my life down.
All like that.
And loved it, yeah. I think what you're talking about, though, is I feel like one of the benefits, you know, having pregnancy and a baby later in life, you know, the downside is that there can be complications. Maybe it doesn't go full term, or you might miss the boat and not get pregnant. But the upside is that if you've had a life, like settling down and going to bed every night at 7 o'clock, great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just great, because there's nowhere you need to be. I've been in all the parties, you know, I've traveled a bit. I've done all the things.
Yes.
So just putting your feet up and doing box sets and breastfeeding, you know, and sleeping. I mean, that's a good time for me.
And how has it been being a single parent, doing it on your own? Has there been ups and downs on that journey? Has it been what you thought it would be? Has it been harder? Has it been easier? In
a way, because it was all sort of so unexpected that year, I didn't do much thinking about it, to be honest. I saw a load of NHS leaflets that said, at your age, you're likely to have a miscarriage or whatever. Also, I'd had a polycystic ovaries diagnosis when I was younger. So, you know, the stats said this baby may not be born. And so I just made a decision to just enjoy every day. I just woke up and went, today I'm pregnant. Great. And to just try and enjoy every day that I was pregnant, whatever tomorrow brought.
Yeah.
And I really did that. And I was running and doing yoga right up until the end. I just had a great time, really looked after myself. And I just told everyone I told the bus driver about it, having a baby.
That is so sweet.
I really got into it. And they, that's great. Congratulations. And I just let myself really just enjoy the fact that I'd had the experience of being pregnant. I thought I'd separate that off from the experience of being a parent or giving birth. You know, like people get a wedding confused with being married. I thought, well, I'll just separate off being pregnant from like being a parent. I just thought today I'll just enjoy the fact that I'm a pregnant
woman. Which is
lovely,
which is so lovely. I have a close friend of mine is pregnant for the first time at the moment. And I keep saying to her, enjoy it. It goes so fast. But of course, when I was pregnant, it was like, oh my God, there's still another 5 months. How is this going so slowly?
I was impatient. Yeah, I was impatient as well. But so again, as you well know from your community, all personal circumstances in terms of co-parents and marriage and divorce and other people's kids and stepchildren, everyone's version is different. So I don't think it's how it used to be either, like you have a family that's together or not. There's a million variations of that. And so, to be honest, I think about my circumstances and making my life for me and my daughter the best I can. But I don't worry too much about, I've never felt stigma for being a single parent. I've never, I'd feel out what's right for us.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't ever expect that I would have a boyfriend who would become like a parent figure. What I'm saying is I don't probably think I'd ever let a man in my house now.
Really?
At the age of 47. Yeah. I've never really lived with a man, and I don't think I would. So I kind of know that about myself. I'm relaxed about that. Like, I really like men. I really like dates. I like interesting men. But I don't feel that that's right for us. It's right for other people. I don't think that's right for us. Again, my mind's open. Who knows? But, we're doing it our way. And I just think I'm relaxed about that. And I encourage everyone else to just find their versions of their way and doing it. And in fact, there's other aspects in our life which are an incredible support. My parents are very well. They've got money. They live in a lovely house. My dad's got a big sailing boat. They've got a big garden with slow worms and hedgehogs and vegetable patches.
Lovely.
I mean, listen, privileged with cream on top and a cherry, probably an organic cherry grown in the garden. I mean, really, I've got that. Also, we have a childminder who supported us when Cordelia was, little. Instead of going to a nursery, she went to a local childminder a couple of doors away, who turned into one of the best friends, we've ever had. And she's at a great school, really, really lovely school, the same school that I went to, where I was very happy. So there's gallons of privilege that has made this stuff possible. Like, it's important to sort of note that if you're listening in a flat and you've got 3 kids that you've been in lockdown with and you don't have a balcony, and you're just thinking, it's all right for you. You're right. It is, the addiction story is real. And I definitely, nearly lost everything. But also there's a lot of people. I have a safety net. And I was talking recently to a friend about what that kind of means when you're a solo parent. And the existence of the safety net means that you don't need a safety net. Just like the tightrope walker, you can walk across a tightrope with bravery because the net's there.
That's very true. You
don't have to fall in it. Like, I've never really fallen in it. My parents don't pay money into my account. It's not like that. But if the shit hits the fan and we need $5,000 for whatever, there's several people I can phone and get that help. And that is the difference between me and those other people. And I'm only really now coming to understand how that has informed my choices and my life and the level of happiness that, I enjoy now.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Fleur, I would love to know, what have you learned about yourself in your journey throughout adulthood and becoming a single parent and starting your own businesses?
Well, certainly I've learned that exactly what I've just said, that a lot of it was down to a roll of the dice. That sometimes, when my friend took his own life, it's like, if you stay alive long enough, you sometimes get things which you don't deserve, good things and bad things. And depending on what family you happen to be born into in whatever part of the world, you might get, more strikes against you. So I've learned to sort of come to terms with that and try and honor that and make the best use of the talents and the gifts that I've been given. What I've learned: acceptance, surrender. On a sort of superficial parenting level, I've learned that there's no such thing as a baby something. I've learned that marketeers just put the word baby in front of something like baby food, baby chair, baby fork, just to sell you more stuff. That would be my main tip to people who are pregnant now. You don't have to buy any of those things. I didn't buy any of those things, and we're fine. And secondly, surrender. Like the other thing that I've learned is that anyone who tries to tell you how to train your child or train your baby that's just the path to misery for me. Like working around, I'm very kind of child-centric, and I learned that when she was a baby. I don't think I want to work 10 hours, so she's going to need to sleep. That's the wrong way around. It's like, how much is she sleeping? Okay, how much can I work? So putting everything that way, and when it doesn't go your way, just surrendering. You may have seen some of the Instagram lives that I've done over the pandemic. I've done workshops with like 40 people on, or making videos, and I'll be really into it, and I'll be saying, and then intellectual property around this business. You need to think about this. And I go, Mom. Yes, my love. I'm just coming, my love. Mom! And he's just going, just coming. I'll just be right back. Aww. And then I try to leave the thing and go down and just like laughing about it, just surrendering. Saying, it'll all come out in the wash. It just, just if in doubt, just go outside and walk around the block. Get the scooter and just scoot around the block. Get some fresh air. You'll work it out. You don't have to have an argument now. Just say, whatever. Yeah. Just let the balls drop. I think is what I'm saying. Am I? Just let them drop. It'll be fine. We'll work it out.
Well, Fleur, it has been so lovely chatting with you. It's always inspirational chatting with you because, like I said, you're so straight talking. You're so full of positivity, and I'm just, really, I've really enjoyed it. And congratulations on absolutely everything that you're doing and have achieved.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks, Zoe.
Thanks, Fleur. And thank you everyone for listening. Fleur, where can people get hold of you and find you?
Oh, lots of places now. So if you are interested in working on your own terms, so freelancing or starting a business or finding a new way to work, we have a super fortnightly newsletter that's free. It's called The Real Worker. And I'm just really happy with how it's going. Sarah Arkle, one of the members of our community, edits it really brilliantly. And as you were just saying there, it's positive, it's full of news and stuff. So if you go to our website, which is doreal.work, there's a way to sign up for the newsletter, The Real Worker. We're on Instagram, the same address, doreal.work. We're on YouTube recently, which is quite weird. I started to get into that. And, oh yes, the podcast. If you want, it's just so silly. It's really silly. But yeah, also informative plus silly, but there's a lot of sniggering. So join us for that.
I can't wait. Looking forward to checking that out later. Fleur, thank you so much.
Cheerio.
If you would like to connect with other single parents in your area, as well as a wider community of single parents, and access support and advice easily, download the Frolo app and join us. Otherwise, head to our website, www.frolo.com, and sign up to our newsletter to stay connected to us. All the links are in the show notes. To help us reach more single parents, it really helps us when you subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. So we would be really grateful if you could take a minute to do so. You've been listening to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, have a great week.